watch Survivor, and when the show ends, you really want to talk about it with like-minded friends. It might be hard to find some, but don't you shed a tear. Check out the Purple Rock Podcast, and this is what you'll hear. John will make some dumb jokes, Andy likes to yell and curse, and if they're not available, the backup hosts are so much worse. Spend the whole time being jerks, telling you you're wrong, and so we got this other jerk to sing you our theme song. It's the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast. I am your host, Matt, and my co-host in misery and despair today is Emma. How the fuck you doing, Emma?
You know, not the best. My dad called me yesterday. It's like, hey, how's it going? I was like, not great. And he's like, yeah.
Yeah, I still haven't had the talk with my parents yet. Haven't been able to bring myself to do that. Decompress, deconstruct, you know, someone's...
And we're the lucky ones in that
yeah.
our parents agree with us.
No, with my parents are old school hippies. With them, it's more like...
hard same.
Yeah, it's trying to explain what the heck happened, and my answer is, fuck if I know. So... I mean...
Yeah, a little inside baseball for everyone. Before hitting record, Matt was like, we don't record clean, right? We don't have to keep clean. And I was like, I mean, we've always been the worst at that, you and I, but not today, man. Not this week.
Yeah, I mean, and look, you know, it's reasonable that I forgot. I haven't been on the podcast in like a year. Wasn't on at all last season. Haven't been on yet this season, so... You know, I don't remember the rules.
I heard that Andy and John hate you personally.
It's true, they have. They've said that to me many times. They've said, you know, I was going to take a vacation, but when I heard that you might fill in, I decided I wouldn't. So
yeah, you're like, okay, it's the reunion everyone has been waiting for, the return of blackjack and hookers. And if you're a newer listener, you might be like, what? And it's a Futurama reference, and that's all you really need. And I'm blackjack because, unlike other people in this country, we don't believe in sexism.
That's right, we don't.
Unless it's against men.
Can you really be sexist against men?
Let's find out. Leave a rating.
So
maybe the guy who said that I have an annoying nasal lisp will be back.
Yeah.
So look,
we're podcasting this week because some of us are trying to use this time to fill the time with distractions any way we can, and others don't, you know, like, want to process this week in whatever manner they choose. So that's why me and Emma are here, and John and Andy are not. And, you know, we're hoping that if you're looking for a distraction, that this is what you're looking for. And if you want to take to the comments and voice any thoughts and feelings, feel free to do so, though we're looking for one side of thoughts and feelings. We're not looking for the other there. So, you know, let's just put celebratory thoughts are probably not going to be welcome in our comments section this week.
Except for about very, very specific things.
Yeah. So, yeah, you know, very specific.
You get Delaware, you get like abortion bans, or not, you know, banning the bans. I don't know, man. California even fucked up. I'm not in a good place.
Yeah, it was a rough one. It's a rough one. We're all trying to deal with it however we can.
Yeah, so. We're definitely team distraction here. I have, you know what's crazy? I'll give you a little inside scoop on my life. I have social plans Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Hell yeah.
That's unprecedented. That's crazy. And then kind of today, if you count this, which, you're not my friend, so it's hard to say.
I mean, I'm wounded. You I consider myself a well-wisher in that I don't wish you any specific harm.
Any particular harm. You're not my friend, you're my brother. Okay, we're out of...
Okay, no, let's move on to the Survivor talk.
I knew I had to get you to turn, and I made it work. So, Matt, as you said, you haven't been here for a hot minute. So how have you... I could ask, how'd you enjoy last season? But I won't. How are you enjoying this season so far?
I'm liking it. I think my opinion tends to align fairly closely with, everyone on this podcast. It's probably, like we have disagreements, but in the end, we generally feel roughly the same about seasons overall. I'm enjoying it. I think that, like a lot of these new era seasons, it feels kind of fun in the moment. You do worry where they're going, and I have that worry with this season, as I think two of the people getting a lot of screen time are not very impressive players to me so far, but we can kind of discuss who they are later. But despite that, I'm enjoying it. It could use a star, and I think that's Andy and John's complaint, that it is kind of lacking, any specific person that pops. But I think in terms of like the new era twists that have been happening, I think they have been iterating on them enough that I have been enjoying the formulation of them a little more this time, because they've been smoothing out and smoothing them out, ironing out the kinks, all that stuff. So yeah, I've been liking it, and I'm kind of hoping that I continue to do so, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, there's a lot of things we hope continue that doesn't always come to pass, but I basically agree. I think this is what I would call this is kind of like I don't know, in a B average range of a season. Like it's not bad. I'm enjoying myself, but there's no highs and lows. Like it's very consistently like a B or a B minus, and occasionally a B plus. Like and I think that's also true of the characters. I agree that there's not like a star. I would not expect this season to be highly represented in season 50, would be my assumption. But I thought, especially compared to the last time I was here, I thought that this was a pretty fun episode. What did you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. This was a lot of fun. And, and I think one of the ways it was that it took some of these things they've done before, and I think it just improved them slightly. Like, I enjoyed this version of the auction just a little bit more than the last time they did it. I think they made some good changes, and we'll get into that in a minute. And then, I thought that the end was a lot of fun. Everyone but one person could vote, which I always like at the merge, and people had to make decisions, which I always like, and they were hard ones, which I like, and that's, at the end, that's good Survivor. What did you think?
Like decisions and voting in our social strategy game, and also apologies if you just heard that siren. I forgot to close the window.
Yeah, well, I'll cover for the siren. I know we probably shouldn't mention voting right now, but this is just talking in the Survivor context for clarification. So.
I was going to say something that I probably shouldn't say on the podcast. The auction I thought was fun. Well, yeah, we'll definitely get into it. Interesting pre-challenge discussion, which, like, a lot of times I'm like, you guys are planning too far ahead. I really thought, like, I was like, oh my God, when they said two people, it could be a man and a woman, I was like, watch Kyle and Rachel both win.
Oh, that would have been good. That would have been good.
And it came close because she came in second.
Yeah.
So that was funny. It worked out, but
and she came in second because Rachel's the most dangerous player in the game.
The most dangerous. We all see it. The way that she was not in on the vote on her tribe just really indicates that. To be clear, this is not shade to Rachel. I like Rachel as established. She is a Veronica Mars fan, and thus I support her. And she is my age, and I support that too.
No,
That's
I mean
the
it's
most
just
important
it
thing.
shows that you're playing on a different level if you can be left out of votes
Yeah.
and stuff.
And still be friendly to people, which seems to be the primary issue. Caroline, your
I actually
officer.
do think she's played a good game, I should say,
I
but
do
yes,
too, but
it's just it's a very odd thing to focus on. So
it's like, yeah, it's just the way like Carolyn specifically is obsessed with her. And I think what it might be is that I think they are playing relatively similarly.
yes, and that's definitely what it
And
is.
but it's like, okay, girl, if you think she's playing like you and is a huge threat, maybe don't highlight that people playing like that are a huge threat. That
Yeah,
might not.
and that's and that would be my takeaway too. It's like a physically fit guy being like, "Oh, we have to take out this other physically fit guy who looks just like
Yes.
me because he's a huge threat." It's like, what do you think's gonna happen if you succeed there, buddy? Who do you think they're coming after next? So with Carolyn, it's like, if people buy what you're selling about Rachel, who do you think they're gonna apply that to next if they use the same rubric as you just did there? So, I mean, I think there's a time when she would want to be, making Rachel out to be the biggest threat, but I don't think that's now. I think that's much later.
Yeah, I did think it was interesting in this sort of pre-challenge strategy where it seemed like she had a lot of the focus, and it was like they were like, well, yeah, Sam, we want to keep it as a shield. And I was like, well, then Sierra, like, haven't you all been talking about what a duo they are? Like, it seems very obvious.
Yeah.
To split it, which they got there. So, but
Yeah.
before that, I was like, what is happening? Which was a thought I had a lot this week. So the auction was fun.
The auction was fun,
This,
returning to the
folks, this
plot
episode
here.
is gonna be me, starting to go down the pit of despair and then trying to pull myself back up.
Yeah, that's okay. No, the auction was fun. So, like the modern auction, it kind of has two phases now. It has the you gotta look around for some money phase in the jungle, and then there's the actual auction itself phase. Um, the last time, I mean, like, I was kind of indifferent about the look around for money part, though I don't mind it because I don't mind the fact that, oh, people start with different amounts. Like, and we can kind of get into one of the drawbacks of that when we get to the auction format. But I don't mind that conceit to it. What do you think about that phase?
Yeah, especially frankly in the 90-minute episodes, it provides, something to do. It also is two for two in providing something interesting happening. One, we have Bruce just being like, I'm old at like, what was he, like 43? Like,
Ugh. No
like
comment about how close I am to that age.
no, but that's my point. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, like, you're not that. Meanwhile, like, he's like, I've got these young kids running around. I was like, you've won multiple immunity challenges. What's
He was
happening?
47, so it's
Oh, okay.
he was more like Andy age than my age. So
Older than Sue, so,
yeah.
I'm sorry. I
No,
guess
that's yeah, no, that's unbelievable still. Um,
just there are facials out there. Anyway, there was that last time, and then Andy, poor sweet Andy. I mean, I even was like, many longtime listeners might know I'm often live, like texting with my mom during the show, because we do not live near each other, but we are in the same time zone. And kind of are like quote unquote watching it together. And I was like, well, it's not like, no one's pulling a Bruce and just not running at all. And then she's like, and then there's Andy, because I think she was like a minute or so ahead because I watch on Hulu Live and not an ad. And Andy, my guy, Andy's not my guy. What are you doing, bud? Like,
I
what
mean,
happened?
isn't this though like the most like Andy thing? All season he has this kind of haplessness that also seems to be just this like learned incompetence. It's
It
like he's like, "Oh, I can't do that," and it's like, I think you can. You just like you're not
take a
trying.
breath. Yeah, like I mean, even to the point is later in the episode, which is ultimately an Andy, victory. But like later in the episode where Sierra is telling Rachel, like, yeah, he's just came up to me saying he's having a bad day, and Rachel goes, I feel like he's been having a series of bad days.
I like the one quote, and I forget kind of the context of it. Rachel goes, "I completely forgot that Andy's still here."
Excuse me. And on that note, actually, speaking of my mom, this wasn't during that time even. It wasn't during his inability to find the money. But and Andy, if you're listening, which is possible because I know he's like an RHAT patron, so he's probably deep in it. I'm so sorry. This is not personal, but this text from Emma made me laugh out loud because you have to imagine it coming from a 73-year-old former hippie who's like pretty chill, and she just texted at one point, about Andy. He has some good ideas, but he's just such a loser.
The thing about Andy, and I'll give him this, is I actually do think he has a pretty decent read on the game.
He
I,
does.
I, I think he's able to kind of diagnose the social politics pretty well. In this way, he kind of reminds me of our boy Jake from a couple seasons ago.
Oh, sweet baby Jake, my guy.
Um,
Jake is my guy. Andy, no offense. Andy doesn't have a Boston accent, therefore
no,
there's nothing to pull. He doesn't have any kind of regional accent. That's boring. I'm sorry. Come on.
yeah. So Andy, just a lesson if you're ever trying to get back on the show, work on that accent. Maybe that's the key there.
It's
Uh,
the key to me.
yeah,
I don't know if that's like the goal, but
yeah, yeah.
you know.
Um, but yeah, man. I mean, his search was it was very funny because it wasn't just that he wasn't finding it; it's that as he's not finding anything, he's complaining to other people who are then literally finding stuff right next to him. Like he complains to Genevieve, he walks off, and Genevieve literally just reaches right behind where he was and grabs one.
Oh, that killed me. That was so funny.
I mean,
Uh,
he was like trailing his hand right over some and just missing them. Like, it's just, my God, man. Just like, what are you freaking doing here?
it was brutal. I don't know. Apparently, I had never. I mean, this is only the second time it's happened. I hadn't made the connection to Easter egg hunts. Maybe Andy doesn't celebrate Easter, and so he's never done that. Matt, do you feel like you would be disadvantaged in this situation?
No, because I have done scavenger hunts, which are a
That's
little
famous.
different. They
You do very
require,
intense scavenger hunts.
yes, they require some slightly different skills, but I can find some random crap that's hidden for me. I hope I could. I mean, geez, now I think I just doomed myself to Andyism if I ever actually did go on. Not that I desired to, but yeah.
Well, when we ever play that 3x3 game, I will also organize an Easter egg hunt just to see what
There you
happens.
go. There you go.
My family every year.
You can
every
do that while the
year.
cardboard cutout plays.
Yeah, right. Because I don't get to actually be in the game because I don't even remember. Oh, because I'm gonna die because of all the times I had COVID. Yeah. By the way, for those keeping score, it's been 5 now.
Oh my God.
But I'm still kicking. I had a cold that kicked my ass this past month though.
Okay. So,
But yeah.
cold,
fun-
quote unquote.
No, I tested multiple times. It was just I get sinus infections like that. Like I get them very easily.
I'm teasing.
Anyway, my family every year would hide a yellow egg in the lemon tree. That's that's your fun Emma's Easter egg hunt fact of
That's just
the
a
day.
Simpsons episode. There's a lemon behind that lemon-shaped rock.
Lemon-shaped rock. Yeah.
Um, well, but speaking of Easter egg hunts, apparently Sierra's very good at them. Because
Apparently, still doing them, which honestly I respect.
well, like what? She's like probably like 25 or something. She seems, I mean, maybe she's older than that. I don't know. She seems very young.
I think she's. Oh no, I know this because she's thought it was so absurd that people would think that she and Sam were together because he is 24 and she is 27. We know that's an insurmountable age gap. No one look at how old Franny and Matt were in season 44.
Yeah. Okay. So.
See, it's different because she's a woman.
Yeah, a woman.
Apparently. Yeah. Yeah, but if your family, like, I did not have big, like, we were very immediate family for Easter because also we were very secular. Like, Easter was solely about Easter egg hunts for us.
Right.
But I could see if you have, like, a big family, it's a big gathering, and there's, like, not really any grandkids yet, or, like, not that next generation, like, having the, like, 20-something to do it for fun. I was very cool in high school, and so I did host Easter egg hunts for my friends.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was so popular and so cool and partied all the time.
Of course.
But we could probably move on to the actual auction.
Yeah, let's do that. So, right. And so then, right. So they take the money they earn, which is now random amounts, basically, and they go to the auction. And so, like, the new auction has a few rules. And I just kind of want to, like, go over some of them and just get, like, whether you like it or not. So, do you like the fact that they don't know when it's going to end?
That's fine. I am indifferent.
Yeah, I'm in favor of that. Get people bidding money. Don't have them just kind of sitting on it. Yeah, that's good. Do you like the fact that someone can lose their vote if they're holding the most money at the end?
No.
Yeah. I don't mind the fact that there's some sort of punishment because I like that it incentivizes people to spend. The problem is the strategy has been solved.
Yeah.
No, the strategy it's a solved game. It's if you have the most money, you spend all your money so that you no longer have any money and you cannot lose your vote. That's it. That's the solve. And I think the show this time did a few things to try to combat spending it all at once. So one that I liked was the gross food challenge, which they added in this time, which is everyone spend $200. Whoever wins will lose $200. But by saying it $200, it means that someone's not going to spend all of their money here.
I did like that.
That was smart. That was a smart play of the game because then that diffuses the strategy of just spend all my money. And it actually backfired because the person who won that item was Sam, who lost his vote. So, that was the person that was left with some money there. And I like that this is also a way, it's like, okay, we have some food that people don't want to eat, but they only eat it in this context. It's not for immunity, it's not for tribal reward. This is for just like you could win some food if you can do this fast. I thought that was a good use of that. I thought that was good.
I thought that was a good use. I like that. I would tweak it a little in that I kind of wish they gave up their money regardless. You're like taking that chance, and that's maybe the possibility of someone like a Sierra, who's clearly trying to lower her amount, although it worked out for her. And like then it would be more of a decision, like because she has, I think, said. I mean, I think it was clear anyway, but has said like an exit's like, oh, I was not going to eat it fast enough, and ew, basically, right. Which like fair. But I think because the idea of like, okay, you're still having the money. I could see it being good of like, you still have a chance to get something, but because at that point there was already the pressure, because I think that was when it was past 5, right? So there's already the pressure that could end at
it could have ended. Yeah, that's when Sue had the most money, which like she wasn't able to like bid on like multiple items in a row, and you could tell that like she was very stressed about that. Yeah, she was
getting antsy about that. And so I feel like they to eat the bug, and then also like it's sort of a mix, because you could decide like, are you risking keeping your money then and backing out of eating the bug,
right?
Or are you like, well, at least I'll burn the money even if I don't eat the grub fast enough. And also, what the hell is wrong with Sam that he has gone his life and is like, I'm not gonna try watermelon,
Yeah,
but he
but
can
he'll
eat
eat that grub.
and he ate it so fast, and it was hairy. It was gross.
Yeah, the grub would be a little tough. Yeah.
And he's like, oh, but watermelon, that's crazy.
Yeah. The other change I like, in terms of like ways the game's trying to combat the fact that people have solved the auction, is the cashback. Because that's a trap. And the second that Soul won that, he was like, I don't want this. But he had to take it. And that's good, because that means that someone has to take cash back, so not everyone can just lose all their money every time. And so then he's sitting there with some cash and being like, am I going to get stuck here? But he didn't.
Right, because it's the problem Bruce ended up having, which I guess is the one, is the one thing that helped Andy by not finding anything, is finding such a little amount that once everyone's bidding. I think the thing is, it's like they're saying 5 to 15 items, but there were 11 of them. I think they have to have way more items, but smaller, because
I agree.
because
I think they need more
make them be buying
items.
multiple things. Yeah.
So I think they need more items so that it can possibly go on longer, and just each, and then it's like, okay, well, do I want to spend all my money for like a small amount of calories and nutrition, or
Right,
do I
and
want to take the
bidding
chance to split it?
And like we want actual bidding wars, because like you're getting these huge things that they're not really even getting to finish,
Right.
and it also, it's just, I don't know, it's silly, and like some of them are like big but not like that great nutritionally. Like Sierra's big thing was like chips, and like the guac I get is probably helpful, but like chips and salsa is like not gonna help you that much, not that it mattered for her, but like
Yeah.
getting that in the margarita, whereas like Teeny has this massive thing of mac and cheese and they're not allowed to share, and I don't know, and I think
Right.
it
And
would
Kyle gets, wings, and he's a
Right, that he-
vegetarian, so
my buddy Kyle, and really any future people, if you have a like dietary restriction, maybe don't bid on the covered items.
well, at that point they were all covered like a bunch in a row there. So
That's also, I'm kind of sick of that too. Like
I think
don't
there were
know.
too many that were covered, but like
And it's in a row. Like you gotta switch it up a
you
little
got to
more.
mix it up a little bit. I agree with that.
Did we even get the reveal of what Gabe could have switched?
No,
that
we
I
didn't. I
get?
think that
See,
I
that's
think they were
also lame.
saving. I think it's because they kind of sped through a couple ones, and I was wondering if that was
Yeah.
one of the ones they sped through.
So I think have like way more than there are people, but have it be like Saul has the just potato chips and a Coke. And so
Yep.
maybe you want like a BLT later, get like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, a reasonable portion of mac and cheese.
That's the other thing. Like, if you have a lot more items, you can do more of those kind of like lightning items. Like, first person to bid 50 wins this, which, as the first item, there's not a lot of downside to doing that. But
Right.
as the like sixth item, that gets dangerous, because then you could be losing your vote, and that could introduce some strategy too to that.
Yeah, and I've been trying to find the commenter who said this, because I wanted to give them credit, and I'm just not finding it in our comments, unfortunately. So I'm so sorry, but someone said how well, now I'm not. Oh, that it should be more like you have to actually bid in increments of 20, which I believe you used to, because there is, I feel like, a favorite thing of was it Ozzy? Someone who just is. It might have been Kat, because homegirl was not smart.
Right, yeah.
Like, just keep feeling like, 50, and they're like, no, increments of 20. 70! Like, no, that's not.
I think the reason why they had to do it in increments in 20 is because that's what they're given. They're given 20s.
Right, but like, and that's fine, but like, basically doing it in increments and not just jumping to, and so that's what I think is maybe they need to, and so my add-on to what this commenter said, and again, I'm so sorry I'm not able to find it to give credit, but is to have a starting bid, you know, like, because, and sure, someone can like have a starting bid, and then yeah, maybe someone's just going to go to their multiple amount, but then they can't actually just bid their whole thing right away. They only can bid like 20 more than whatever
I think they
next
do
person
that
is.
for the sake of economy. It's not fun to sit through an auction where you know it's going to end. But I guess the thing is that you could just have people stop bidding early so that they're like lowered not by their entire amount, but by like half an amount. And then that, like
Right.
there could be some game theory there, kind of about like how much do I want to lower them to then maybe stick them with the lose a vote type of thing.
Well, because the problem is, it's also not fun sitting through an auction where you know that at a certain point it's just going to be whoever has the highest amount is going to bid all of it no matter what the item is. And
Yes.
so on and so forth. And that's why it's like, I don't hate the lose a vote thing, like, in theory, because I agree, like, we want to motivate people to actually bid. But I do hate it because that's what it causes. And I know they tried to fix it with the cashback thing. It didn't help.
I think a longer auction though would help there because
Yeah,
then you would have
exactly.
because then you'd be getting people with the cash back towards the end, and those would be the ones in the crosshairs.
Yeah, so not everything, like, it used to be there were your big ticket items and there were your smaller ticket items. But now it's like either big ticket items, like, one, like, yeah, they started with a small ticket item,
Yep.
it's largely big ticket items, or it's covered, and so it's either going to be a big ticket item or it's disgusting,
Right.
and or a bummer, because Gabe's wasn't gross, but it's a bummer. Although their well water, I don't believe, is cold, so at least it was
Got
cold
some
water.
cold water. Hey, yeah, that's not bad. So,
That's something.
um, but yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty fun overall. The changes to it, I think, are a mixed bag. Though the old auction was also a solved game, so I
Hmm.
enjoy that they're trying to do new things with this, and I think they improved it from what they had two seasons ago. So
Although the thing is, the old auction was a solved game because everyone knew they were putting advantages in. Here
yes,
they stopped, and then they didn't. Like, it wasn't a solved game when it was just food. Like, just
yeah,
have it be a reward. It's not that complicated.
right, and
Um,
so yeah, and so just having it be a reward, I think, would be a good change. I wouldn't mind them going back to that. Like it's I enjoy some aspects of this, but yes, I also miss some I'm a little frustrated at some too. But what do you think of hiding the clue in an item without telling people?
Yeah, I mean, I think you do want to keep it a secret because, as we've discussed, that's what broke the auction in the first place. Um, so that's fun. There definitely is, a sense of like, it's like, well, the clue told her exactly where it was. Like,
Yeah.
and so, kind of luck of the draw there. Although it was at least, you had to do some maneuvering to get it. I think it's very funny to put it in the bowl of French fries, because it was rolled very tightly like a French fry.
I did enjoy the camouflage there, especially the one moment when Rachel had noticed it, and then it seemed like Saul looked at her when she was about to pull it out, and I was like, "Oh, does Saul see it?" But no, he
Yeah,
didn't. He
and then
didn't
he's
see
just
it.
like, "How you doing?"
Yeah,
Like, what?
Saul was so funny this episode towards Rachel. Just like if you like watched him, he just kind of kept looking at her, being like, "Hi, how you doing?" Like, "Oh yeah, like we're friends," and just
Look, remember how I kept you here?
I mean, just it was funny. It was good. I found that pretty funny. Um, so yeah, so really the outcome of the uh, well, I guess there was one other thing at the auction. There was one item that Sierra won and she could share. And what do you think of the two people she chose to share with?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely get her logic because it was Gabe and Carolyn who didn't get good items, so that was nice.
But there was someone who didn't get any items.
Exactly. And I mean, we didn't see him mention this as a reason, but I do think it highlights just how much they had been taking Andy for granted as like a social player. I think maybe the move is, I think you do Gabe because Gabe didn't get any food. Like Carolyn, obviously, not for me, but she did take a bite of the fish eyes and has been on the other awards. Gabe mentioned he hasn't been on like any food rewards. You know, he wasn't part of the mergatory feast. He wasn't a part of the social hour, although it's like, well, that was one hot dog with nothing on it.
That hot dog kept as what's fueled Kyle's immunity run. Thank you very much.
that horrifying looking vegetarian hot dog. Man, so they can provide that, but they can't get some, buffalo cauliflower from my guy.
Well,
rude. But anyway,
yeah.
So I get that. Like, let him have a little something, and she didn't have connections to that side, but she also wasn't planning to work with that side.
She wasn't. It was. To me, it felt like she was already trying to curry favor with the jury, even before anyone had been on the jury. You play nice with the people that you plan to spend there because you want them to vote for you in the end, and they'll be like, I always liked Sierra. She, shared her food with me.
Gave me a handful of peanut butter.
It's like no, like you got, they really have taken Andy for granted, and they'll never recognize their behavior in doing so.
Yeah, that moment, after where there's the confessional, not even his, before they even get to his, but when Sierra talks about Andy and they're dragging him along, and I was like, even if it's not this week, I'm like, he will be her downfall.
100%. It was so obvious. It was just so obvious that he was going to ruin their game. And, honestly, I'm all for it. I didn't particularly feel strongly about Sam and Sierra. So if they sunk their game because they saved him, it's pretty funny, honestly. So.
And maybe it'll teach future players you don't have to save that person.
Maybe the person who's a disaster episode 1, maybe you should just cut them loose rather than try to make them into your fill up or whatever. So
yep. Or don't take people for granted. Both good lessons to learn.
Yep, indeed. So that's the auction. Then we come back and Rachel finds the idol. We talked a little bit about this, but I mean, I'm happy Rachel found it. I like her, and she's the one person from that tribe that I actually do kind of like. That's still there. So I'm happy she found it. It was hidden close to camp, which they've done a few times now. Yeah. And everyone's always like, "Oh, this is impossible to do with it when everyone's around." But no one's ever had any actual trouble with it because honestly, people on this show are just so self-absorbed they just don't notice you doing it. So.
And, in fairness, I think there were times where, say, Wentworth, and I think this has happened other times, I had to go, under the shelter, and it's like, okay, you're not pulling that off when everyone's sitting there.
That's fair. That's fair.
But I was impressed still that she was just like, well, I'll just be hanging out at the back of this shelter while they're all right there.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure you can just be like, oh, I'm just adjusting this palm front or something.
Yeah, it's easy to play this one off is the thing. So.
Yeah, nobody seemed to be any wiser.
Yeah. So so she gets this idol, and now she has a little protection. And then we get the immunity challenge. Kyle wins again, and then Sue wins, and Kyle's kind of painted a big target on his back, hasn't he?
He sure has, and poor guy, because the last challenge he really came in third.
Yep.
But and the good thing is he's definitely aware of it. They went back to camp, and he's like, well.
He's like, I don't know what to do about this.
But he's also, the thing is they were already talking about that just last week when he only won two and one of
I
it
know.
was, and so that's the thing. It's like people are like, oh, you gotta throw it or whatever. He would have been in trouble regardless. He's probably in trouble just from winning the first one, and it's like, well, someone's gonna. So, does he probably have to just keep winning? Maybe, but so far it's working.
I think he has to keep winning for at least a bit, but there might be a point soon where he's needed as a number more than he's needed as a threat. If that, and
Yeah.
he might escape a vote or two because he's the type of threat that you might want to keep around to keep people focused on him, but then be like, oh, we'll be able to come back and get him, but let's get this person this week.
Yeah, it'll definitely depend on like who the people remaining are, but it
Yeah.
could certainly be the thing where, say, Tony doesn't actually want to get rid of Spencer and Tasha too soon because then everyone else is focused on Spencer and Tasha.
But then again, Tony didn't consider them like better at immunity challenge than him because he thought he would actually be good at immunity challenge and beat them. He never did. But Tony also had Wu on his side, and Wu could beat them. So it's there's a balancing act. The problem is like anyone who's like head and shoulders above challenges to everyone else. It's hard to not take the first opportunity you have to vote them out because might be the only one for a while. So
And maybe, and people always say like, oh well, they're not necessarily going to win out, or like, they might not win, the game or whatever. But the thing is, if they keep winning immunity, then you're not winning immunity, and at some point you might need that immunity.
that's right. And if they
So
keep winning
someone,
immunity, that's someone in an alliance who is not able to be voted out. And if they're not in your alliance, that's a problem. So yeah, Kyle, his time's coming. Unfortunately for him, pretty soon. I like the guy. I think he's really grown on me as the season's continued and he's gotten more screen time. I like just his general, like aw shucks and persona
is
and
a
demeanor and
sweetie.
yeah. But and the funny thing is, the people on the other side have him in their crosshairs. I think he'd be willing to flip on his people,
Oh
but I don't know
yeah.
if he's gonna ever get the opportunity.
I know, yeah, because it's like he was closest to TK and Tiana.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the funny thing. Like no one, like no one else knows that. So it's just, it's his situation just kind of really amuses me because he's being perceived a certain way, and it's not entirely inaccurate. But I also don't think anyone's actually like really taking the time to think like, well, wait, can Kyle help me in this game? They're not thinking about that. They're just like, Kyle's winning a lot of immunities. We got to get him out, and that's all they're thinking about. So, um, and then Sue was the other winner. You know, I don't have a lot to say about that. Do you?
The main thing I have to say about that is the idea. I don't know if this is true or not. I probably should have looked it up after thinking about it. And maybe I can look it up now. But God help me, I'm gonna go to the Wikipedia page for Survivor 39. But because I think Janet's the most likely person to be older than her, but Sue might be now the oldest woman to win an individual immunity, and she can't tell anybody because
Yeah. I mean,
because
she was.
people older than 45 have won immunity.
Looks like
Janet was
Janet's
59,
this.
so she's the same age.
Janet never won an
She
immunity
never
though.
won. Okay, so there you go. So
Yeah.
Sue, I'm pretty sure. I'm not like a historian here. I don't know if there's like if Scout somehow won an immunity with a busted knee, but I'm pretty sure. But like Monica Culpepper, she was probably over 45, right? But Chrissy Hoffbeck definitely was, even though she was also lying about her age and saying that she was 39, which, you know what? we're not huge Chrissy fans here, but I will give her that. I think she pulled that lie off better.
Yeah.
I think that was more believable.
I was gonna say that she can't be the oldest person to win immunity because obviously Bob was older than her, but
Yeah.
Bob was not older than her.
What?
Bob was 57.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good for. I don't know. Good for Sue.
I
Good for
get.
Bob?
I mean, yeah,
was
no.
like,
I mean,
don't-
it is generally impressive, especially because this is a challenge that you wouldn't expect. You would expect this to favor the youngest people because this is like a grip strength challenge. This is hard, like.
Well,
Yeah, no,
she's
this is definitely a very difficult challenge.
gripping those airplane levers. I don't know how to fly a plane. That's how you fly, right?
Sure.
No?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Not?
Yeah, the airplane
Yeah.
lovers. That's actually the technical term for them. So
Yeah.
I'm very impressed you knew that.
Thank you. I try really. I'm just a STEM queen. I know a lot
I know you
about
are. I know.
technology and also driving and flying.
And
just
math. I know how
Yes.
much you love math.
love math.
Yeah.
Hate reading.
Um,
Also for what it's worth, Monica Culpepper was actually 42. My bad, Monica. But yeah. Anyway, she's probably the oldest, but Chrissy was 46 and pretending to be 39, and thus Chrissy's real age is more than Sue's fake age, so she can't even brag about it.
Right. Yeah. And that is pretty funny. Like she almost certainly just set a record here of some sort. And because she's lying about her age and doing so in such hilarious fashion that I'm pretty sure none of them believe. Yeah, she can't, take credit for it. And
It's a big week for Sue. But then comes, the strategize.
yeah. And so at first it looks like
What they had talked about before is like Lavo and Gata were like, oh, we'll come together because it'll be like 6-5 because they assumed Rachel was a goner. But,
right, and take out Tuku.
Then Rachel stayed, but then also Sam lost a vote, so it's like, well, it's still 6-5.
Still 6-5.
Seems
I mean, like maybe this is the way to go.
Or
Maybe
6-4. Sorry.
and Tuku seems very tight. They seem like like a foursome that's really aligned well.
Which is funny because they are a threesome that's aligned really well, and also Kyle.
Right. But everyone just assumes Kyle's not playing the
Exactly.
game because he's winning immunities, so yeah.
He's a sweet little angel.
Yes. But the funny thing about that is like God is actually even closer aligned, and they weren't able to kind of they weren't able to reflect on themselves close enough to realize that the perception of them was, you have a tight two, and not just a tight two, but like we all think Rachel's still in really tight with you, and frankly, everyone else probably thought Andy was tight with them until he came to them and was like, oh yeah, I'm willing to vote those guys out. Fuck them. So
Because you gotta think, if Andy didn't get voted out pre-merge, he must have formed good relationships, right? Like, I feel like
yeah,
that would be
exactly. Because you're like,
reasonable.
wow, the only way this guy could stick around is if like they just love him, and then meeting him, it's like, well, it couldn't have been because of his personality. So I'm joking.
from the top rope. But Saul, his move last week being like, oh yeah, you know what? Sam told me to write your name down. That has really
It's paid
come
off.
to roost. Yeah.
Saul's playing a good game here now, like kind of quietly in a way that's not drawing a lot of attention to him. He turned Andy against his alliance partners. He curried favor with Rachel,
He
and
doesn't have to talk to Rome ever again.
doesn't have to talk to Rome ever again.
His dream.
And he kept Rachel alive this week, which he wanted. And he's kind of assembled this like little alliances. He was even talking to Kyle last week, and it would be kind of funny if he peels Kyle off from Tuku, and suddenly you have this like Lavo based, alliance where suddenly Saul has a lot of power after being on the outs for so much of the pre-merge. So, I mean, like, I could see it. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but, like, I've been kind of impressed with him, these, like, small, quiet moves that have borne fruit already. So,
Yeah, I agree. And, Lavo has seems to be, even though they weren't working together, have now seemed to form a decent coalition, and they're the smaller group. Although now, of course, they're tied,
right.
which can, can prove to be helpful.
And I
Plus,
guess that's
apparently,
the.
Andy considers himself part of them now, but
Right.
nobody's gonna think that.
And I guess that's the question. Like, is it the right move for Lavo, who is, at the beginning of this episode, was the smallest group, to target Gata instead of Tuco?
Yeah, it's interesting. I will be curious to see what they do next week. If they kind of pendulum and then vote out someone from Tuku. Which, if Kyle loses immunity, they'll probably just all vote him out. It'll be like when
Yeah.
everyone was just like, well, it's time to get rid of Alec on David versus Goliath.
Yeah, yeah,
Everyone
yeah.
was just on the same page. But if he doesn't, because one thing is like the teaming up with Gata made a whole lot of sense when they were gonna both have three.
Yeah.
But when it was like, oh, we'll be 7 against this 4, and then we'll go like you don't want to go to the final 7 in that situation.
Hell
because
no, you
then
don't. And they
it's
don't want to go to the final 7 with Tuco if they're only a 3. Now, they might be a 4 with Andy, but you don't want to go to the final 8 then at 4-4. You want to pendulum back and take out a Tuco. So,
yeah. So I think as long as they do that, I think it's a decent idea because it could be too, especially like strike while the iron's hot. Andy's coming to you. He's willing to turn on them. That means you're probably gonna. That means also Andy's not gonna have somewhere else to go
yeah.
after
And
this.
what I
So
would do if I were them is I would take out a Tuco that wasn't Kyle. Because then that makes it so that Gata doesn't want to team up with Tuku because they want to get Kyle out at some point. So if you say you take out Gabe or Carolyn, for instance, then Gata still has incentive to work with you in the future to take out Kyle. So if you leave the biggest threats on either of those tribes, like I guess Rachel or Sam on Gata, there's still reason for Tuku to work with you in the future, even though you just voted out a member of them. And that's a way you can kind of play the middle and just whittle those two tribes down until the point where they can't stop you.
it will be very funny if next week we see like Rachel talking to I don't know Saul and Genevieve and being like, Caroline is the biggest threat in this game.
I would love that so much. That'd be
She
so
is
good.
playing such a good game. That would really crack me up.
Yeah. Though I will say, I don't think Genevieve is entirely of the same mind as Saul on this, and there's going to be.
I agree.
And actually, one of the interesting things about Lavo is the fact that I don't think the three of them have tight bonds with each other because Teeny would have teamed up with Gata here, and while Genevieve would have teamed up with Tuku, she has different priorities than Saul does. And it's like I think that there's going to be a splitting of those three at some point, but also the fact that they don't seem as tight might mean that the other two don't team up on them. Because, look, the reason to target Gata is that Sierra and Sam were just super, super tight. And despite the fact they kept trying to lie about that and hide it, which was absurd, because people could tell when they weren't even on the same beach as you. Um, yeah, like it's a problem, and they wanted to break up that duo. And frankly, on Tuku, Gabe, Carolyn, and Sue seem really tight with each other, and they're gonna want to break up those three. And so I think they're gonna come for Gabe and Carolyn. I don't think they're gonna come for Sue. I think Sue's gonna keep sticking around. And yeah, I think it's going to be it's going to be interesting to see what happens next. But I do think it was the right decision this week to take out Gata, and I think that it left Lavo more options in the future.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I guess another question though is, and I think we already discussed like Sierra being someone it made sense for them to target. But it's just Andy in general, like was that the right choice for him to turn on them? Was it perhaps just the personal satisfaction?
So here's the thing. I don't know if Andy has a path where he's going to win with anyone, but he certainly isn't going to win if he stays Gata strong. There is no way he will ever get votes if he's sitting next to any other member of Gata, because he will always be seen as a follower. So I think he has to turn on them, and he has to get rid of all of them.
Burn them down.
And here's the thing. He won't get their votes. That's 3 that are automatically barred to him. But he might, he will have established that he was enough of his own man, enough of his own player to everyone else, and maybe he'll get votes from other people. I don't know. Probably not. But I think if you're damned either way, at least take the path where there's a minor chance. Don't just keep walking down the same doom path and telling yourself everything's all right for months on end and that nothing's wrong and that no, you aren't suffering from some sort of. Oh, wait, don't pull back. Went too far
Grab
down
the
that
airplane
levers. Pull up.
Anyway, Andy is the he's of that moment killed me. Can I just say, when they did, like, at first I was like, oh, that's where they got the episode. Okay, and haha, because he has glasses and he knows the trope. His hair is down, or he has his hair up, and so he can take it down. But when they did that slow-mo shot,
it was fantastic.
I died. That was so funny.
Best editors in the business. Best editors in the business.
Have been crushing it lately.
They've been awesome.
Even before that, we had the Sierra confessional I mentioned, and then you like juxtapose that with Andy being like, "Here's how I actually do know what's going on in the game." Can't find a bamboo thing wrapped in purple to save his life, but he sure can whip a vote. Could have maybe whipped some more votes. Anyway, the tribal council.
Yeah, gotta stay on target.
Airplane lovers.
Yeah.
The Rachel shot in the dark play.
Yeah.
We didn't quite get what we've always been hoping for, but we came close because she was like, oh, I guess I didn't actually need the idol. But it did seem, and I think this has been confirmed via social media, it was genuine that she wasn't sure, she was not in on the plan. They didn't let her know. But she was like, okay, something feels dicey. Let me play the shot in the dark, see how people react. Great. Love that. I hope and choose to believe, just based on what she has said before and everything, that if people looked like really relieved that she got not saved, they should be like, okay, I'm playing my idol. Which presumably means that is allowed, which I don't see why it wouldn't be, but it is something we've wondered about. So.
And I think the fact that Probst paused after the shot in the dark was revealed, didn't immediately start reading the votes, but he waited a sec. I think it is allowed. I think it was 100% the right play. I think it was a really smart play. I think it's a play that we've talked about before in wanting to see. And I think that, look, if it hits, it's great. But the thing is, it's very unlikely to ever hit. The odds stink on it. So you take the chance and you use it to gain information at a point where you can use that information. And so if you get the sense that people might vote you out, you use that information. Yes, use it, and so yes. So I was a big fan of her shot in the dark play. Big fan.
Also, as long as people didn't clock that she was like trying to observe reactions, I don't like. We've already saw they were like, well, no one would play an idol on Rachel. I'm like, except Rachel.
Right.
So I think they are unlikely to suspect that she has something,
Right.
especially since she found that something standing right behind all of them, and it usually is like, oh, someone's been away from camp for a while.
Yeah.
And so now she can just never be away from camp and no one will think anything, which is pretty valuable.
Yeah, and so yeah, that's I was a big fan of this. I was basically like pumping my fist, like, yes, we've talked about this. I'm glad someone finally did it. I was a big fan. But she wasn't the target, and she didn't play her idol, and that was the right move. The target was apparently Sierra. Was that the right person?
I think because they're so convinced of Sam being a good shield, as long as they follow through and eventually, it's like you do have to get rid of them eventually.
Yeah.
I think that's decent. I wonder if Sam going out first in the immunity challenge really helped him here.
It might have. Yeah.
Because like he's still seen as a threat, but they're like, well, Kyle can beat him. It'll be fine.
It's also interesting because I think there's kind of an implicit thing here where they may not see Sam as the brains behind the duo, but from this season, I kind of feel like he was. It's not that Sierra wasn't like doing stuff, but felt like Sam was doing a bit more and he had more of a plan there. So
He certainly was the one to pull in Andy. So
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting though because I don't know who he can really go to because he feels burned by Andy. Andy feels burned by him. He has kind of burned Rachel when with voting out Annika, although maybe they can sort through Annika. Maybe they can sort that out because she wasn't in on this vote. And it's like, well, he doesn't have Sierra, so she'd be like, well, I can be his number one now. But it's definitely a tough spot for him, but I can also see them just kind of keeping him floating around as like a free agent if he doesn't get a foothold anywhere. But if he starts to get foothold anywhere, the other side is going to be spooked by that.
yeah, the thing is, I think that Sam's actually a little more dangerous than Sierra, but I don't think they really know that. I think that's kind of meta knowledge from that we know as viewers who saw the entire pre-merge. So I think that from their perspective, I can see the point in taking out Sierra and leaving Sam as, oh, he's just the meat shield. But I think he's actually does have a bit of a social game, and I think that could bite them a bit. So
I'm probably like, this is some 24-year-old jock who's never eaten pineapple before.
yeah. So
Eat fruit, Sam. You're gonna get scurvy.
yeah. So that's basically like the entire episode. We had another thing to talk about, but we already talked about that earlier. So
Yeah.
So I guess we want to talk about what people really came here to talk about, which is top three.
Yeah.
And this week, in honor of Andy's magnificent high school movie style glow up, we're going to talk top three 90s high school comedies. And I emphasize high school because we were going to do teen comedies, and then I was like, I don't want any like college bullshit. I don't want anything about, people being like 19 or whatever. It's like, but not in high school. It's like, no. When we say teen comedy, we're thinking high school. So let's just make it explicit. And we're talking 90s because, of course, she's all that. So,
Yeah.
So
We chose not to go the route of Netflix straight to streaming teen comedies such as the actual He's All That
Right.
does in fact
Right.
exist.
And we chose to do that because I'm not Andy. I am not well versed in those. I don't watch those. But 90s stuff, I can do 90s movies. Yeah, I can do that very well. So before I give my number
You were a
three,
teenager in the 90s, weren't you?
I was, yes.
For at least some of it.
Yeah. For a portion, yeah. So,
Part of the demo.
I want to give my honorable mention, which is Dazed and Confused, which, here's the thing. Dazed and Confused, I don't think of as a 90s movie, even though it was 93. It's it's firmly in the 90s, but I also don't necessarily think of it as a comedy, even though it's funny. So it didn't, it's kind of in that like this is possibly a better movie than some of the ones on my list. But also, I just didn't put it in my top three because it doesn't really occur to me as either of those things, even though it very easily can. It's also just like it's one of those movies I watched later rather than like when it came out because I was just a little bit too young to see it when it came out. So it's just not on my list, even though it's like most people are probably like, of course, Dazed and Confused, number one or number two. But yeah, so I
That's
just wanted
so
to mention that as my
interesting.
honorable mention.
Yeah, that's so interesting because I also had an honorable mention that was partially because I did not watch it when it came out or like in the 90s. I have not seen Dazed and Confused except for it once being on mute at a party.
Ooh.
But that doesn't count. But I could see also people not thinking of it just because it takes place in the 70s, right? No, I want to say
Yeah,
70s.
yeah. It's one of those that,
And
yeah, it's like American Graffiti where it takes
right.
place 2 decades before it was, filmed. So,
And so it's like you know that but it's probably and it wouldn't come to mind the same way. I mean, you're saying 90s when we're thinking of sort of this was this big era of certain teen movies. Anyway, my honorable mention is Bring It On,
mm,
which rules. However,
totally.
somehow both aged well and badly, which is fascinating.
Yes, I was going to
It
say.
is very ahead of its time with cultural appropriation. A lot of F slurs.
Yeah.
Lot of slurs. So that's not as great. But I did not watch this in the 90s. And the other ones I'll mention I did, even though I was not a teenager in the 90s. I didn't watch this until probably high school, which is an appropriate age to watch it for sure. But I already felt behind the times. Like, people would always do the like, "Burr, it's cold in here," and I'm like, I haven't seen that. I don't know what you're talking about. And it is certainly a better movie than my third place, but
So what's your
didn't
third place?
didn't get there. Is I felt I had to. I felt I had to because of the episode. I also felt I had to because I do unironically love this movie, even though I know it is not good. And that is She's All That.
Okay.
Fucking love She's All That.
Yeah.
It's so bad, but I love it so much. Great cast too.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know,
fantastic
the
cast.
king of the millennial heartthrobs, Freddie Prinze Jr. I am not like a massive. I wish them well in that I wish them no particular harm towards Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sarah Michelle Gellar. But if they ever break up, I will cry. They've been together so long, their love is so pure. But you have, again, Gabrielle Union. She's all over the place
Yep.
in these. You have Usher, Lil
Hmm.
Kim. Yeah, Usher is like the school DJ, a thing that happens. Paul Walker. Kieran Culkin is Rachel Lee Cook's little brother. Kevin Pollak is her dad. This is a star-studded movie. It is the basis. It is the main sort of plot model for Not Another Teen Movie. It has Freddie Prinze Jr. doing dramatic, interpretive hacky sack.
Wow.
And it's so stupid, but it is something I rented as a child and immediately attached to it, probably because of Freddie Prinze Jr.
Sure.
And it's a banger, and it hits, even though again, it's not good, but I love it, and not out of like it's so bad it's good. No, I love it. And also, I forgot to mention in saying the all of the people in this movie, of course, the great. Oh my god! Oh, my brain stopped working for a second. But Matthew Lillard. Did you know Freddie Prinze Jr. won't do a movie if Matthew Lillard's not in it? That's true. That's
I
friendship.
believe that.
And Matthew Lillard playing a random like fictional real world cast member. So there is an alternate universe where his character is like a mainstay on the challenge or something. Anyway, what a movie. Yeah, that's my third pick. What is yours?
So originally, I had a movie, and I had this list, and I realized right before, like literally while we've been recording, that this movie came out in 1989. So I had to kind of scramble for one, and it's a movie I like, but I didn't put as much thought into this, and I'm pretty sure I might be on your list. I actually am feeling pretty good about that. It's 10 Things I Hate About You.
You're right. That is on my list, and that's a good movie. I do need to know what your 1989 movie was, though.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
See, you could have said Bogus Journey, although I guess they're not really in high school, and also it's not as good.
Yeah, no, it's not as good. Frankly, I kind of think the third one was better than Bogus Journey, but
Actually, I never got around to watching
it was a lot. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. But I mean, like,
well, let's talk about
10 Things I Hate About You.
10 Things, because that's my number 2. So
Yeah,
that's an
I
easy
figured that was your
transition.
number 2. I actually suspect that my number 2 might be your number 1.
Oh, then I'm gonna have to kill you for ranking it so low.
Well, I think you'll be surprised at what my 1 is,
I am
because I bet it
interested.
wouldn't have occurred to you. So, but yeah, let's start. Yeah, 10 Things I Hate About You. So this is just, it's really well done. It's the classic, let's redo Shakespeare, modern times, only it's like one of the best versions of that like I've ever seen.
Yes.
Obviously the iconic, lip syncing in the stands as he dances and stuff scene. It's just great movie. Great movie.
Also features Gabrielle Union.
Also does indeed.
One of the few, I think, more classically like mid-20s playing high school in that movie. Julia Stiles, Larissa Olin, I can't say her last name, JGL were all like 18. Heath Ledger was only 20.
Yes.
They were all actually pretty close. You can tell by Joseph Gordon-Levitt's little baby face.
Oh my god, yeah, seriously.
I also love that movie. There are definitely times that's very silly where it seems like parody. When they do the classic, like, here are all the cliques. Like, why is there a cowboy clique?
Yeah.
At a Seattle high school. So stupid.
And that's the stuff that like I really love about the movie. Just like the random stuff like that. So
I mean, David Krumholtz getting cast out from the future MBAs because he got his eyes on at an outlet mall. I definitely do the like, oh, that must be Nigel with the brie.
yeah.
A lot. Great movie. I do want to highlight the absurdity that David Krumholtz and Joseph Gordon-Levitt say to, again, a 20-year-old Heath Ledger. Like, oh, bad news. Like, she likes pretty guys. I'm like, oh gosh, if only you were talking to a 20-year-old Heath Ledger, one of the most beautiful people to have ever walked this earth.
Yeah.
And I say, like, and pretty, because there's a difference, they're handsome, they're pretty,
Sure. Sure.
He was beautiful.
Yes.
He was pretty. Like, I say this as someone who was never, oh, well, actually, maybe that's going to come up later. So, well, no, they never mentioned high school. I was going to say, as someone who never was, like, a Leonardo fangirl, crush on him, when I rewatched Romeo plus Juliet as an adult, obviously I was, like, not attracted to this, like, 20-year-old Leo, but I was like, oh, that's, like, one of the most pretty people. Like, that's as pretty as a human being can look on screen. It's crazy. It's like a work of art. It's wild. Anyway, I don't think pretty boys age as well, which is why Leo looks like he does now. Yeah. So what's your number 2?
My number 2 is, as I said, I'm pretty sure you're number 1, and I totally understand why it's your number 1, because it's a classic for a reason. And it's Clueless.
Yep, that is in fact my number 1. How about you open the floor and then I will talk too much.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know, like, what I can say about Clueless that hasn't been said. I think it's as I said, like, just a brilliant movie. It's so funny and smart. You know, it has such an amazing cast. Alicia Silverstone, Paul Rudd, Brittany Murphy's fantastic in it. I always love seeing Dana Dea. It's just it's such a good movie. Like you talk about it because I don't even have like specific like points. It's just like this is just a really fantastic movie. Like it's what else is there to say?
It rules. Well, you mentioned 10 Things being a Shakespeare adaptation. This is, of course, a Jane Austen adaptation based on Emma. A fun fact, I have never read Emma, and I only watched one of the movie versions a couple of years ago, and it was very funny because I practically have Clueless memorized at this point, and so I was like, oh, that's Travis. Like, he's Elton, but it's his last name because he's the priest or whatever. And I guess not a priest because they can't get married. But whatever, reverend? I don't know. I'm not religious. And I can't tell all the Protestants apart. It's very confusing.
Oh, there's lots of them. So
there's so many.
So many.
And you know, like, oh, and that's, you know, that, and which is why I always bring up to people because it's like, to us now, dating your like brother-in-law in that like the brother of your sister's husband would like not be weird, right? Except for like if you break up it might be awkward, but in those times it was seen like a little dicey. Like it's not
also,
actually incest, but it's a little incest.
He's like a fair bit older than her too.
Yes, which is, in fact, everyone likes to talk about in Clueless, him being her, like, stepbrother. My bigger issue is that I'm hoping a freshman in college, not deeper in college, because...
Yeah, I definitely got the sense he was deeper, but yeah.
Look, we're choosing to believe he's a freshman because Cher is turning 16 in that movie. So, you know what? It does seem like he's at the dorms in UCLA at one point. And so, you know, we're choosing to believe that. Because people mention the stepbrother, and it's like, hello, that was... her dad was barely even married to his mother, and that was like 5 years ago.
Right.
So they didn't grow up.
But that actually leads to one of the things I really like about the movie, which is, you know, one of the things about her character that I think is done so well is that she's so in kind of control of herself in the environment of high school. She knows what she's doing. She's like, you know, the queen bee. Everyone follows her. Interacting with someone older, you see a change in terms of how she acts, how she relates. She's more out of her depth. It's like the big fish in this one setting is the small fish in it, has limitations in another. And I think the movie does that so well in kind of, highlighting those differences, there and how these different places, she's not as together as she wants everyone to believe. I think that's really well done.
And I just have to say a little more about Clueless because it's very personal to me.
Yeah.
First of all, last week, the top 3 was on commercial jingles, and people mentioned Mentos. The real reason I know the Mentos commercial is not from Mentos commercials. It is, in fact, from Clueless. Brittany Murphy does it. So my relationship to Clueless is that someone gave me that VHS tape for my 6th birthday, which is crazy.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And I remember I loved it instantly. I was always torn because I wanted to display it in the front of our stack of VHSs because I loved it, but I was also mortified because the tagline on the cover of the VHS with the paper sleeve, not a clamshell, was sex, popularity, whatever. And so I'm like, oh my god, sex. Ah! Which is also weird because sex really doesn't factor into the movie that much. Cher, famously a virgin, hymenly challenged, as they say.
Right.
And except for, Dion and Murphy. I know the movie too well because, again, got it when I was 6 years old. Kids watch movies over and over and over again, but then I kept watching it, and so more I watched it as I grew up, the more I understood. Oh, he's gay. Oh, herbal refreshment is weed. I understand now. Oh, balls at your nose. Okay. Like, and so I just liked it more and more. But that movie made me and my friends in elementary school pull up our normal socks, try to yank them up to be knee socks as high as we could, because they wore knee socks in that movie. I did not have a lot of Barbies as a kid. I was not very into Barbies. I had about 4. One of them was Cher from Clueless. So yeah, Clueless is my number 1. And you know what? It is a movie I turn to in trying times, and I might be watching it again this week. I'm gonna be real. So what's your number 1, Matt?
My number one's a movie that I don't think will bring you happiness this week, even though I love it. Though maybe. My number one is Election.
Oh, I actually love Election. I didn't. Obviously, she is in high school. You're right. You said it might not occur to me. It didn't occur to me. I showed my husband Election this year.
Oh, really?
For the first time, and he did really like it, so I was pleased. I will let you talk about it, but I will say real quick, pro tip: when you're a teenager, don't watch that with your
Oh
dad.
my God. No, 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 no. Yeah, no. This is the thing I like about Election is Election is so much more about being an adult surrounded by teenagers than it is about being a teenager. So yes, it is technically a high school comedy, but what I like about it is it's really kind of about the awfulness that is high schoolers, in particular high schoolers, but then also the awfulness that is particular adults. Because Matthew Broderick's character, he does some dark stuff in this movie, and he's
not even the worst one.
No, he is not.
We thought Paul Rudd was too old.
Yeah. So this is like, when I think about like dark comedies that I like this is like one of like my favorite examples. And it's also a movie that, like, you gotta understand, growing up, Ferris Bueller was one of those movies that I watched a billion times because I was born in the early 80s, and yeah, that's like, that was one of those movies. And that was like one of my favorite movies. And then seeing Matthew Broderick in this is like, oh man, like, I did not know what I was getting in for. But this movie's brilliant because even though in your head, like, okay, he's wrong, there's a part of you that as you watch this woman, this high schooler, you're like, yeah, I kind of hate her too, is the thing. It's like, like, I don't want her to get away with it, And it's like, is that fair? Of course not. Like, you shouldn't be taking that out on a high schooler. But I think it kind of captures that feeling of just like, this person's going to grow up to be a terrible person. She is. And, like, I love how, like, at the end, he sees her getting in a limousine with a congressman, and it's like, she's gonna be awful. Like, and it's like, he was right, and it's obvious, and it doesn't make anything right, but I love that there's, like, that little bit of, you sympathize with his hatred of her. And I think that's what this movie nails so well, and it's why I love this movie so much.
It's a great movie. You're right, it did not occur to me in this category, but that is a great movie. I used to say back when Glee was a thing, that the pilot of Glee is like very Election, almost to the point of rip-off. I mean, it's also like to the point that Corey Monteith looks a lot like
Chris Klein?
Oh my God, Chris Klein. Thank you.
I
think my brain was trying to do Kevin Kline, and I knew that wasn't right, so the Klein got there. But looks a lot like him. But and then the show instead quickly becomes a after school special, which is a shame. But
Glee was much better in its first episode than it was Ever Again.
Ever Again, yeah.
Ever Again.
But
Did
anyway.
you know that Election was the screenplay was written by or what it was based off was a novel by Tom Perrotta, who you might know better as the guy who wrote the Leftovers book.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Well, did you know that that remember Trial and Error?
Yes, of course.
Our Top Notch Murder Board.
Yes.
That the kid. Okay, so he appears in. That was his first role ever because he's from Omaha.
Oh my God, that's hysterical.
He was locally cast.
That is hysterical.
Yeah, I noticed that when I mentioned I watched this only this past year, and was like, hey, Leo point at screen. And then dug into IMDb and I was like, wow, like that was his first role, and then was like, oh, like he's from Omaha, like, and it was like a casting for local kids and all of that, and look at this, now he's an actual like working actor.
Yeah.
With a great murder board.
Yeah. Murder board. Anyway,
Um,
so that's our top three. Why don't you hit us up in the comments and give us your top three 90s high school movies. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of overlap because there are a few that are just impeachable. And
Andy is so mad that he missed this.
I know he is.
But thank God I'm here, because imagine John trying to do this.
I mean, was John still watching movies in the 90s? I think so.
know.
Maybe.
That's true. Mike should be able to comment. I think he was still watching movies in the 90s.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I definitely expect Dazed and Confused to be on some people's lists. And again, I don't blame them. It's just, it doesn't have that same meaning for me. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess we're going to kind of wrap up now. We don't have access to your text, so if you sent some, sorry, that goes.
Maybe they'll answer in the comments. Maybe Andy will cover that. I actually, does only John have that? He hasn't seen the episode, people. He's not around.
John
we're
wanted
sorry.
to disassociate from everything, so
I think he's also just
so yep,
traveling.
come leave comments, follow us at the usual places to follow us, and thanks for joining me and for sticking around on an extra long episode as we talk Survivor and lots of other stuff.
The top three was one of my favorite genres. What are you gonna do? I'm a chatty gal. But yeah, before we send you off, find your local like mutual aid things. Build community, take care of yourselves and each other.
All we got's each other, people. So
good luck.
Hit the theme music. Outro music? Whatever music.
This is the copyright free outro to another niche survivor